Alright guys, so this is the very first lesson we had in chapter 4, and it had to deal with angles and their measures. Okay, and so this is an important lesson because when we were dealing with the unit circle, something that kind of looks like this, we don't have all of these angles that we were dealing with, so just study the ones that I told you to. Excuse me. But we should get an orientation on where they're at on this unit circle, because that's going to be important later on. Okay, and so being able to tell where they are in the unit circle is going to be important. And so just remember that this is the positive direction, moving in this direction, and moving in the negative direction means moving down. So you can already see that, but moving from this line is positive and this is negative. Okay, so one of the important things here is going to be where the quadrant is that you're looking for. So 60 degrees is a pretty good one because it's on the circle. Okay, so 60 degrees I can totally see is right here. Okay, so it's in quadrant 1. I know that's not what it's asking over here, but this is just some of the things I want you to get a little bit here. This is in quadrant 1. And if I wanted to find what we call a coterminal angle, I could either add or subtract 360 from this 60. Okay, and so 60 plus 360 is 420 degrees. That's the same angle, so it would take me all the way around the circle and then back right here. So if I wanted to continue, it'd look something like that. Okay, so negative 225 is if I had gone through here and come back over here. Okay, well, let me finish this one. I could have also subtracted 360 and ended up with negative 300 degrees. And it would have taken me to the same spot. So I would have started here and finished right here. Okay. But I think what I really want you to see is, like, how can I get any of these, whatever, if I don't see these numbers on my unit circle, how can I get them to that point? So here, negative 225 degrees. Well, negative's not in front on my unit circle, so since I'm dealing with degrees, I could add 360 degrees. And if I did that, actually don't have that number in front of me. So negative 225 plus 360, it equals 135 degrees. And that would be important because now I can see that is actually on my circle and it's in quadrant 2. So this is Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So similarly, I could do that here. So 540 is not on my circle, but if I subtract 360, well, maybe it will be. So 180 degrees when I subtract, and I can see that is actually on my circle. So that's pretty good, and that's in between quadrant 2 and 3. So and for something like this, I could just keep for negative 750. That's obviously not on my circle, but if I can keep adding 360 degrees there, eventually I'll end up with a number that is on my circle. Okay, so similarly, I can do the same with radiance. Okay, and so if I look at my circle, I don't see 13 pi over 6 anywhere here. Okay, I shouldn't. That means that I most likely went around the circle. I'm starting to go around it again. So similar, instead of subtracting 360 degrees, I'm going to subtract 2 pi because a full circle in radians is 2 pi. So when I do that, remember I can't add them right now because they're not the same denominator. 2 times 6 is 12 pi, and 1 times 6 is 6. So now I can go ahead and subtract them. 13 minus 12 is equal to 1 pi over 6, and that is on my circle. It's right here in quadrant 1. So I would say this is in quadrant 1. Similarly here, negative 2 pi over 3 is not on my circle. There's no negatives here. But if I were to add 2 pi, well, then I could make it that way, that it is. So 3, 3. So negative 2 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 1. So negative 2 plus 6 is, oops, it should be a 3. 4 pi over 3. And I see that, where are you? 4 pi over 3 is right here in quadrant 3. Okay, so final thing on this first lesson was to convert, and a lot of you all have been pretty good about this. So my conversion from degree and radian is either pi over 180, so pi radians over 180 degrees, or 180 degrees over pi radians. So it's going to depend. Whoops, you guys didn't see it. It's going to depend which one you're starting with. So here I started with 135 degrees. I'm just converting. So 135 degrees, and since I'm trying to get rid of degrees, then degree should be on the bottom. So degrees cancel, and I'm left with 135 pi radians over 180 degrees. And so when I want to simplify this, don't just simplify the numbers. So here 135 divided by 180 is 3 over 4. So 3 pi over 4. Don't plug in your pi when you're doing this. Okay. So works the same way when you're converting from radians to degrees. Okay. So that's the lesson there, guys. And so just keep studying, and I will see you all in class.